Okay, now I will check. You also make video, no problem. You want to make, just keep it here somewhere, right? Yes, you can keep there. Yes, 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 yes. On the other side, right? Now, what I'm saying you, this is good for you actually, not for me. It is good for you also, right? These fallacies are tricky moves in arguments that messed up with clear thinking. If you are saying something to somebody, for example, if you say something to somebody, instead of, don't, there is something says, educated people says, don't argue with the foolish people. You cannot make argument with the foolish people and you cannot correct them. Why? They have something to say. Look at how. Yes. What we have told, he is repeatedly telling us. Yes. So he doesn't know that it is replicated to him. Right? This is how it goes. And fallacies are tricky little movers, arguments that messed up with clear thinking. They are like the troublemakers in debates who You've got mail. Things around the throw discussions of tracks. Some of them have fancy names like strawman and ad hominem hominem and refer to type the logical fallacy for this fallacy. Knowing these tricks like having a secret code catch when someone's trying to pull a fast one in argument. It helps you to point out to keep the conversation on track. Strawman policy nutshell means without you telling something, this argument like you say something to somebody, but instead of understanding the points, he tried to divert something. He tried to fabricate this thing to his advantage, and instead of understanding the thing or a logic or a fact, whatever, he tried to attack you on the other way. That's called fall. Uh, yeah, these fallacies, straw man fallacies. So diversion, it should be a diversion, right? So there is no diversion in straw man of fallacies. Fallacies, there are so many fallacies as I told you, right? Straw man fallacies is misleading argument tricky tactic where someone misrepresents their opponent's position to make easy to attack. So these things done by mainly done by political people, political parties. Instead of addressing the actual argument, they create a weak and destroy the version of it and easier to criticize. The fallacies uh, distract from the real issues and handle by attacking strawman does not accurately represent the opponent's point of view, right? So these things used by the political parties to politicians to attacking to others, right? The strawman is a policy known as the strawman argument. It is from the logical fallacy or reasoning error, right? It occurs when someone intentionally simplifies, misrepresents, or exaggerates another person's argument to make it easier to attack, to refute the opposing position. Instead of addressing the original statement, the person creates the straw man's weaker version of the argument by using a non-existent argument to create a weaker position. Right? This tactics or tackles that instead. It tackles, trapping. They are trying to trapping you. The misleading tactic distorts the original argument. It distorts the original argument and leading the false representation and often derailing the actual discussion. A simple method to give the sort of argument and the strongest form, right? Making the appear unbeatable. Make it to be appear unbeatable, but unbeatable means the second person think that this person cannot beat me, this person cannot do anything to me, but actually it is not the way. It is wrong, right? And also unbeatable. That's exactly why it is considered the informal logical fallacies and fallacy of prevalence. And using evidence, examples, statements that are relevant to argument at hand. Essentially, a person uses non-existence argument urge argue against the opponent's original position. Can you understand these things?
Yes.
Can you understand or not? If
Yes.
you don't understand, tell me. Yeah. Reality to have the created easy to refuse argument themselves and their opponent does not necessarily to agree with the distracts with the actual pattern of argument. Example, two colleagues are discussing workplace policies, right? Person one says, I think companies should allow employees to work from home a few days a week, better work-life balance, right? Person B says, if you can work by home. Person B says, so you are really saying that the people should hardly come to the office and always work in their with work
Pajamas.
in their pajamas. So, see the things.
Yes.
This is the problem with the people, This, in this situation, person A opposes flexible work from the home policy. However, the person B exaggerate this into a extreme scenario with non-existent argument that employed barely come to office and lack of professionalism implemented by working with pajama. This misinterpretation puts person into a weaker position, right? Makes it easy. It happens to me many times, making it easier to criticize. It is does not accurately reflect the person's initial suggestion, making it the classic example of the straw man fallacy. History of the Now we are going to talk about the history of the straw man fallacy. The concept of the straw man fallacy, though not expli- explicitly named, such as in ancient times, can be traced back to the studies of argumentation and the fallacies by Greek and Roman philosophers, particularly Aristotle on his works. I told you about Aristotle's dilemma. I told you about that already. Aristotle explored the various forms of the fallacious, fallacious reasoning, and sort of argument that is broadly it is on its logic. We did not directly name the straw man fallacy. His descriptions and certain fallacies bear to the close remembrance of to it. However, it was not However, it was not officially named the wrong way, arguing until much later. Douglas and Walton noted the earliest instance of the strawman fallacy. And Norton was the first person 1956 who was found it, right? But he made a name like that, Strawman fallacy is he's the person who make it. Guide on by his book, formerly fallacy textbook in Straught Chase Guide to the Straight Thinking. This is a very good book in 1956. If you can find it, the book can see the book. And the formal fallacy, which is mistakes in logic. Informal fallacy, like a straw man fallacy is more about reasoning wrong and lacking relevant arguments. This means the argument from much straw man fallacy could be logical and it's wrong because of its rise, right? And straw man fallacy, I told you about the logical fallacy. Definition of straw man fallacy: there are straw man fallacy in nutshell. Fallacy is a misleading argument tactic when someone misinterprets their opponents, right? So these things so this is how it goes. The term of strawman likely originates from the, because the earlier part I have already done it.
Yes.
That's why I this is coming. It is coming as a repetition, so that's why I skipped it. So the term of strawman, now understand.
Yes.
Somebody has to work in home few days. Now you say, for example, to me, somebody has to work by home. Like I'm asking you,
Really?
you want to unprofessional way to stop the people
Yeah.
working and working in the pajamas? Huh? Like this, who make this one? This kind of strawman policy. Sama.
Yes.
You remember?
Yes.
He's the one mostly strawman policies is making. This guy also, Ali Al Sahrawi. With Arabs, this is a common thing, strawman policy. They are making. They are making because they want to. They think this is winning over the argument. It is something which is rewardable. Right? Winning over the argument. Right? So designs and print these thesis. Right? Political debates and campaign. If you go to the context of the political debates and campaigns, strawman fallacies can be particularly harmful. Politicians often use it makes to the opponent's positions arguments seem less credible, creating strong arguments for themselves. For instance, politicians might oversimplify complex proposal or policy proposed by their opponent for easy to argue against the weakened version. Weakened version. They choose the most weakened version. They argue. The original proposal of the policy seems less reasonable for practical and its value is negotiable and discussion. Once it comes to the business, in the negotiation and the business context, where effective communication and the strategic thinking are key, utilizing the strawman fallacies can be provided simpler and more straightforward and challenges and potential weaken an opponent's proposal. Employing this type of informal policy can be used in a tactic influence outcomes or sway in the discussion on one's favor. Everyday discussions also. There are three types of. That is the main part now we are going to talk about. There are three types of strawman arguments, right? The strawman fallacy is often employed divert attention to the from important points various situations. It is varies. This type of informal fallacy is commonly seen in political debates, media dialogues, even regular conversations. There are various types of strawman fallacy argument illustrated below. Exaggerating. Exaggerating is the number one thing, and it's the first thing. There are three types of theories, right? Strawman fallacies, fallacy types, kinds. In the strawman fallacy, reasonable argument is often stretched to extreme limits, making seems ridiculous and irrational. Exaggerated version of the argument is then attacked. Example: person, we need to be more careful about the environmental impact in the projects. Person B says, person A wants to stop all the development and make us to living in caves. They said we have to think about the environment before do the road making highways and making train tracks and all these things, making buildings, making cities. So obviously, jungle we have to cut the trees, right? For this. Person B says you want to stop all the development and leave us in the caves, cave inside the jungle. Yes, like this. Oversimplified, right? Oversimplifying this. Words out of context, ignoring nonsense. Regardless of their form, straw man fallacies can all have the same basic structure as the illustrated below. General structure of straw man fallacy. Uh, Person A states the position X. Person B describes position Y and disordered the version version of position X. So B argued against Y and instead of X, claiming that original position X is to be refuted. So use the final format of the version perfect thesis. So revise these thesis, formatting once last time that our frustrated 3D preview function before the sending to print. It gives an accurate virtual representation of what the physical outcome will be reimbursed and the final product meets your expectation. To meet the final format version, straw man fallacy examples. For a deeper and more profound understanding of the straw man fallacy, you will find some extra expla- explanatory examples below the might be help. Environment example. Original argument. In my opinion, you should be strictly regulations of the industrial pollution and the protect the environment, right? Straw man argument. So you really think that we should shut down all the factories and industries, and we should lead to the massive unemployment, economic disaster? Huh? In this example, the original arguments, anyhow, we have to cut everything one day. So the original argument is this increasing regulation and pollution of the protect the environment. The opposing person uh, creates a straw man by exaggerating and misinterpreting unpopular positions and advocating the complete shutdown of all the factories and industries. This restoration makes the easier to attack the false. He said, you want to close this factory and all Sanaya, all factories, and we are living with unemployment and without food and without having any salaries and just be living like this. He's asking, second, the massive unemployment and economic disaster is obviously very interesting. Huh? More obviously problematic than the original proposal. Stricter pollution regulation by attacking the disordered version and opponent is unable to open and discussion, but the real issue is environmental uh, protection through the regulation and the counter arrangement and positions and is the strongest form. Advertising strategy, right? So there are some we will see we will see something. I will show you advertising policy, right? Advertising strategy in the, when it comes to the companies. Strawman fallacy advertise the media involves the misrepresenting and oversimplifying to opponents' argument and competing products features to make it easier to attack. Here's how the manifest these feeds. Example: Company A is selling new dishwashers, and in their advertising, the deficit and competitors' product B being ineffective, and ad might show dishes washed in product B still having stains and looking dirty. It's reality to show the man argument and false presentation of the product B effectiveness. The weakened product version of the product B represents the strawman in this fallacy uh, that can easily to defeated by product A, and which creates a superior and tactic obstacles to the comparison of the two goods, misleading consumers by the focusing on false representation in rival. This is kind of a the strawman argument typically is considered wrong because it involves a uh, misrepresented and opposing positions put one's own argument and strongest from the make it easy to attack. So it's not a good thing. Somebody says it is not a good thing. He says, if I read you this all these things, his strawman argument is always wrong. Strawman argument, strawman fallacy is always wrong. Then the answer is The strawman argument is typically considered wrong because it involves misrepresenting and opposing positions to one's own arguments strongest from the its strongest to make it easier to attack. It considered intellectually dishonest and counterproductive in fair debates, and it does not address the stronger argument and but only the disordered version of it. You know, it's very difficult, by the way, right?